Okay. Yep. All right. We'll call this meeting of the Palmer City Council special meeting on January 6, 2025, 6 o'clock. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Cooper?
Here.
Councilmember Best?
Here.
Councilmember Graver?
Here.
Mayor Carrington?
Here.
Councilmember Hudson?
Here.
Councilmember Alcantara?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Tudor?
Here.
All here.
Okay. If everyone could stand, Chief Shelton, could I ask you to lead us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is approval of the agenda. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Alcantara?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Carrington?
Yes.
Councilmember Graver?
Yes.
Councilmember Best?
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson?
No.
Deputy Mayor Tudor?
Yes.
Okay. 6-1.
Okay. And with the approval of the agenda, that includes the consent agenda, which is the introduction of ordinance number 25-001, amending Palmer Municipal Code 2.04.090, executive session with public hearing date of January 14th, 2025. Next, we have audience participation. We will open audience participation. Is there anyone out there that wants to speak to the council?
I'm going to speak loudly because...
Oh, it's disassembled. We're missing you, Josh.
That's okay. I am a loud person.
Sorry about that.
We're missing you, Josh, because there's no batteries in the microphone ahead of time.
Sorry, I missed you too.
That's okay. We should have a backup plan anyway.
Where are you? I'm doing this, but it just doesn't seem to be working.
Fresh dead batteries.
Well, we have had problems with mics in this chamber.
Yeah,
Mike.
Mike.
Mike Malevsky, and I live here in beautiful downtown Palmer, over there on Farweed Avenue. Every chance I get, I have to come back and talk about a couple things. One, first of all, start off by saying I'm encouraged that you've all made it there. Josh is on the line and all the rest of it to talk about something which is probably the most significant thing you do, which is hiring a manager. So I know you can do it. I'm just being positive about that, and I speak for all of those people that would love to be here, but for one reason or another are not. The second thing, though, is I want to speak to the railroad crossing, which I hope is coming up. I understood that Jude would be bringing forth a design in the near future, because I continue to drive across that. And if any of you have been there recently, you'll notice that gradually the holes along the rails are getting deeper and deeper. And in fact, what my wife and I have done, she reminds me, I remind her, that when we drive home, we go the long way. Maybe the Springer, maybe somewhere, maybe up to Alaska Street, rather than cross those, because they are really, really getting bad. So whatever the fix is, it's probably still going to be useful to do it in the spring. When the snow fills it in, it sort of ameliorates it a little bit, but not that much. So I just want to throw that out and remind again, it's getting worse. Thank you.
All right. No other takers? Oh, here he comes.
Dwayne Shelton, citizen of Palmer. I wanted to take a minute to let you guys know, for those of you that might have known him, Ed Painter, who was a patrol officer who retired from the city of Palmer back in 2001, I believe it was. Might have been 2000, might have been 2002. I don't remember. It's been a minute. But he was one of my field training officers when I started working here anyway. He passed away Thursday night at his home in Georgia. And so I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that. And then the other thing that I want to discuss real briefly is looking at the packet of candidates. And I appreciate the information being in here. It appears to be quite heavily redacted. And so I would just caution the council maybe to make sure that whoever did any of the backgrounds or anything like that, because it's just about impossible to do it from off of this. Just check, make sure they do their due diligence. That's all I've got. Thanks.
Okay. All right, see no one else, we'll close audience participation. Next is new business, committee of the whole. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to enter committee of the whole.
Okay,
Second?
there's a second. All right, so moving into committee of the whole for discussion regarding city manager selection. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Deputy Mayor Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes,
Councilmember Graver,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara.
Yes.
Unanimous?
okay, so we're in committee of the whole. We have some applications.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Graver.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I noticed under the scoring matrix that there's a name, Sudhanshu Kaushik, that is, or maybe it was just not included in my packet, but I didn't have the application for that individual. Did anyone else have the same issue?
I see the manager quickly scrolling there. I presume is this, the packet was arranged in the order of the matrix, I'm guessing? No, not really. All right.
Yeah.
I will note that I did look at the applications from the email, so maybe that application is included in this packet, but not the email that I was looking through.
Go ahead and turn on your mic, sir.
Mr. Manager, these are, the ones in the packets and the printouts are all, this is, it's one and the same. It comes from the same file. So there should be, it should be included in here.
Starts on page 95.
Just getting to it.
Page 95?
Yep, page 95 of 134 in the packet.
Okay,
Okay, thank you. I got it.
okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Deputy Mayor. Go ahead.
Thank you. This is probably a question for the city manager. I was just curious if we're going to get a different packet that, I mean, I appreciate the confidentiality, but it's, we can't really tell if these people worked at, New York City or McDonald's. I mean, it's just kind of, I think they went a little overboard on redacting.
Mr. Manager?
Yeah, it was a little more redacted than I was expecting it to be. If council would like a second pass at it with some removal of some of these, I'd be happy to do it.
Councilmember Alcantara.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Diamante, remind me again, because I don't see it in this packet. I know you told us multiple times, but who is the company that put this matrix together for us? And again, how much did we pay them?
This
Roughly?
is S3 is the name of the company, and they're providing ongoing services for us for roughly $7,500, a little more than $7,500 a month.
And if I could follow up, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
And Mr. Diamante, S3 is an Anchorage-based company, if I remember correct? They're Alaska-based company? Or,
They're,
Mr. Manager.
S3 is basically they're a Texas-based company with a relationship through AML. It is how I got
oh,
onto
AML,
them.
AML is part I remember. And one last statement to the work that they did for us, if I could. I appreciate the matrix. I appreciate hiring professionals to kind of winnow the field down from the dozen applicants to a more reasonable number. I mean, I guess if we're just kind of, talking shop here in committee of the whole, I think a potential move is to, if we're going to interview further candidates, and I understand people may want to look at more information that was redacted, and I'm okay with that. But I look at, you hire a company to do a job, they do that job, and I'm really not interested in dropping down and interviewing, I would say even more than the top 3 candidates that scored a 7 or higher on the matrix. I say that a little bit tongue in cheek because I know that I've already had the opportunity to interview the person that came in 4th on their list. And so I know that if other people say, no, 3's not enough, we got to interview 5 or some other number, I would be okay with that. But I guess this is a new experiment for us. We hired a company to winnow the field for us. And I think we should take that advice and, in my opinion, I would lop it off after 3 top candidates, because the 4th candidate, she interviewed perfectly okay, but my one member opinion is that she was not ready for prime time, and she is 4th on their list. So that's just kind of my thought process when I looked at this, and I looked over the granted very much redacted applications. But when I look at this, I see Colby Hickle-Zirkle, Scott Massaros, and Sidney Miller as kind of rising to the top, and if I'm agreeing with the company that did this with S3, and I think at this point I am agreeing with them and the work that they did. So those are my thoughts on it.
Okay. Councilmember Best, do you have something?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the work that's been done. I also believe that we do have the opportunity to kind of whittle it down, at least to a more manageable number. I was very pleased to see the robustness in the applications. I had kind of a different image of how tonight was going to go. I thought it was going to be more of a kind of a presentation with the firm that had done this work to us, to kind of tell us what we should and shouldn't be doing because of our past missteps, and that maybe that we could kind of define kind of our filter in which we're going to lens these candidates prior to this list coming out. It's where we are at the process, but I'm a little disappointed that the firm isn't here tonight to talk to us a little more intimately about the process itself and going forward, and where we might have good ideas about doing something, but maybe it's the wrong application for us to do it. Like for us to kind of do our own research. Should we do our own research? Are we going to let them do our own research? Should we not be contacting people? Should all the process? So it's not just us that is aware, but also the public is aware of what we should be doing.
Mr. Manager, did you have a response, or?
It's, I wasn't aware that council wanted HR here tonight, so you can put that at my doorstep. I can have them come in at a future date if you like, and outline that.
Okay. Councilmember Hudson.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to ask, did this HR company, Mr. Manager, do you know if this HR company went through and answered under these basic informations based on what was in their employment application, or if they did their own background research on these before they put in the answers on the matrix? Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
Yeah, this is off the application itself. That's no background checks have been done at this point.
Councilmember Hudson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if things are inaccurate and we can find that there was things that were reported inaccurately on applications, when would be a good time to have that discussion?
Mr. Manager.
That'd be at the discretion of council. That's, if I could say something further, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
This is council's process. So at this point, I'm waiting for your direction to see where you want to go. I'm not going to make any assumptions on your behalf, and I'll provide all the information to the best of my ability that you want. So I am here to support you in this search for the new city manager. And at this point, I need your direction to move forward.
Okay. Councilmember Best.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the comment from the councilwoman to the right of me. If there are discrepancies or perception of discrepancies by us as we review this, I would think that it would be best that we contact individually the HR group and inform them of that versus us making a statement from the body that could be disparaging. So that way it's just a little more, let them do the due diligence on accusations or assumptions that we're maybe making. That would be my only caveat of that.
Councilmember
Mr.
Hudson.
Mayor.
Oh,
Thank you. Oh, sorry, you calling me? Sorry. I have a bad connection. right
okay.
now.
Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have to agree with Councilman Best on both his comments he's made. I think that is a good approach to protect the confidentiality of the applicants if we contact the HR company, directly or through the city manager's office. And I think it would be good to have them present during this process, if possible, because especially with the applications that we have, being as redacted as they are, we're kind of in the dark on a lot of things. So I don't know if it would be possible for us to reconvene with the HR company at a future meeting and go over these with the HR company. But I think that would probably be good for us to, even though it does involve pulling the process down, just doing this right to make sure that we're ticking all the right boxes, crossing the T's and dotting the I's and all that.
Madam Attorney, did I hear your voice as well?
You didn't, but you must have read my mind.
Okay.
Apologies, I didn't want to share my sickness, so my voice is going in and out. I was just looking at what had been done in the past, and I'm making notes that whomever you decide as it gets narrowed down, it does need to be for a business justification, not for an individual. So I would strongly suggest, I think it was April 2nd when they did the interviews in the past, and those packets were more in depth and less redacted than these are. So I was a little surprised at the level of redaction myself. My suggestion would be, certainly to probably in an executive session have HR help you narrow down whom you'd like to interview and with business justifications, and then perhaps go from there. Just my 2 cents as you were asking me.
Okay. Councilmember Hudson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's very important that we, before continuing with just the names that we're seeing on this matrix, that HR does some investigating into the validity of things that were put on these applications. And I think for now, that's all I'm going to say. I would be happy to talk with the city manager's office or with HR about those things. I just think it's really important, even before moving forward, that nobody is being brought before us that is somebody that could potentially trouble our community further than it already has been. Thank you.
Councilmember Alcantara.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm wondering out loud if, can we get the HR firm and can we do the process of that at our regularly scheduled meeting on the 14th? Or is this something that we think is going to require a different special meeting into the future? Because I don't know how long the turnaround is for our city manager to contact them and say, we'd like you to quote unquote be here. I don't know if that's via Zoom or if they're Texas based, if that's just getting them on the video and we can ask them the questions that are needing to be asked. Because I don't know this company, so that's part of a little bit of apprehension of like, okay, I don't know who these guys are, but our guys and ladies are. But I have to say, reading through the applications as best we could and seeing the matrix that they provided, I didn't get a feeling when I read through that I was like, man, they really stepped in it. They blew it on this. I can't say that I looked through Laurent Millier and was like thinking, oh, hey, I think I want to be a fan of this person. I looked through it and I went, nah, I probably wouldn't score any higher than they did on this one. So part of me wants to say, we're hiring a company, let's take them at their word. But we've been stung pretty badly, so I get the thought process of less redacted applications, being able to converse with our HR company and moving forward. I mean, in my perfect mindset, that would happen on January 14th, but got some people here that might say that's just not reality and we have to have a separate meeting for that. So I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Manager?
I will say, January 14th is going to be a very busy meeting, and I don't know there's going to be time for it, for this process. That said, even having something done for next week might be a push. We might be able to reconvene with them maybe towards the end of next week or later in the week next week. But that's not something, I think that's something that's probably doable with these folks, if we're not asking them to provide a product as well in the meantime.
Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. John, I'm assuming that the matrix was developed based on the job application that we submitted, and obviously the information they provided in their applications, their job announcement that we sent out. And if that's the case, if you're coming back with more information, less redaction, I would like to get a copy of that job announcement so that we can see how they compare to, because we have requirements in there which talk about degrees, et cetera. And I see there's people in here who don't have degrees. I don't even know why they would be on the matrix if they don't fit in with the job application requirements.
Councilmember Hudson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also noticed it seemed that we were told there was 15 applicants, and it looks like there's 3 applicants missing from this. So I was wondering if HR decided that those applicants didn't meet qualifications, but then also why they weren't then put on here if then other people didn't meet the application requirements as well. Kind of along the same lines as Councilman Cooper, but I'm just wondering what happened to the other 3 applicants that had applied for the position.
Mr. Manager?
To answer Councilmember Cooper's question, there's not a degree requirement for the position, but a degree is preferred. So that's the way we worded our job posting. To answer Councilwoman Hudson's question. There were 3 applicants that withdrew from the process, so they're not included in this, and their names are not going to be publicly revealed.
Okay. If I remember right, I think the process we did a couple managers ago was we actually hired a firm to kind of do some vetting. We gave them some questions and they went and kind of basically interviewed on our behalf some of the finalists and then essentially gave us a report on it. And I guess I would be intrigued if we were to come up with some that we think are kind of finalists of doing, you know, thorough background check, but even if we had some questions we wanted to ask and get some responses back before interviews even. I don't know what the council thinks on that, but, or the manager for that matter.
It's, my thought process was that we would kind of wait and like get the field winnowed down and then start digging into more folks. It is possible to go back and invite others to, you know, if we find that the field is not as big as we think it is, that we always have the option to enlarge the field.
To basically repost.
Not necessarily repost, but to invite somebody that maybe was further down on the list.
Okay.
And the other, one other to speak to this, the scoring mechanism, this isn't anything we're not drawing this in cement. It's just a recommendation by a company that's based on our posting that this is the scoring that they came up with. If council, you know, wants to do it differently, by all means, you know, please do. This is just, it's something to start from, something to work from.
Councilman Best.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, this is where I feel like we're kind of, without having that HR firm in front of us to be able to ask these questions and also understand what we can and cannot do, I'm almost kind of vapor locked right here. I think we might be able to say only the X number and go from there just off this, but like what you're saying, this is just kind of a guide. It doesn't really lock us in, but on the other hand, if we were to say, okay, we're going to ask these 4 people and they happen to have masters, and then we also asked one more, well then what was our criteria for discounting everybody else? And I want to make sure that we don't get into that same pitfall where we were being advised before that it had to meet a certain criteria and it had to be presented in a certain way and questions had to be asked a certain way. So I'm kind of, I don't know where we go from here right now until the next meeting that we have with the HR firm.
Councilmember Hudson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In code, I believe that it states that the council decides the hiring process of the city manager. So I understand respecting what we should and shouldn't do, but also if we as a council come together and can say these are the applicants that we're considering based on the applications that we've already had time to review, then it would make sense for us to release those names, because then I think it also would speed up HR's process versus, you know, them going through 12 applicants and doing all of that. If we want to initially consider only certain applicants that based on, you know, applications, then for them to go and do, as the city manager said, then we could go back later and, you know, add and take away different applicants at that time. But I do believe that in code it states that the council gets to decide the hiring process. And so I understand following the rules, but also I think we could move this along if we had certain applicants that we, you know, wanted to interview and have background checks and things done by HR.
Councilman Best.
Could we get the attorney's opinion?
Madam Attorney, do you have an opinion to add in here?
While I certainly agree with Councilwoman Hudson, it is to the discretion of the city council. I'm getting nervous that I think we're starting to enter into conversation that should be done in executive session when we're regarding the specifics of applicants and an individual's qualifications while you're narrowing it down who you'd like to interview. That's my 2 cents. Did that answer the question?
Councilmember Alcantara.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure to answer the question one way or the other, but just another thought process, unless the attorney says this would not be a good process, is maybe giving our HR firm a direction that, hey, we like your matrix, it makes a lot of sense. How about you go and redact the top 5 people that you scored, which ironically all have master's degrees. I personally don't have a college degree, and I still think I'd be a city manager ever. So, you know, I don't think you have to have a degree to be a city manager. But that being said, I think the cream kind of rose to the crop, not just on education. I feel bad a little bit for at least 2 candidates that got points for being in the military, and you know, my son serves in the Navy, so I'd love to see that. But the reality is, even I'd be okay with just going with the top 3, but if we did the top 5, I think there's great justification to say, hey, we hired this company, they reviewed and scored out the candidates, and hey, lo and behold, the top 5 candidates have a lot of background with multi-million-dollar budgets. They have masters in either business or public administration. There's plenty of shield to say this is why we're going to allow from Pepper to Hickel, or Zirkle, I'm sorry, Pepper to Zirkle to be the 5 candidates that we want to see their full applications as much as we can, less redaction, and have the company here to answer the questions of, you know, how do these 5 score as high as they did, what was the process, and we can move that process along with the public. I think that's a good idea, but I think just dumping it all back in their lap and saying we still want to keep all 12 people on board, I'd be a fan of winnowing it down to no more than the top 5.
Mr. Manager, so if we were to ask for like background checks to be done on the top 3, top 5, would part of that process be a vetting of what they've stated on here, what education they have? That part of that background check is verifying that data?
To my knowledge, it would be, and that's a question. To fully answer that question, I'd have to get back to you. I'd have to find out and get back to you. To my knowledge, that's part of performing a background check.
Or we could stipulate and add, and to make sure
Absolutely.
that
We can
includes,
absolutely stipulate that.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Graver.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm inclined to agree with Councilman Alcantara and Councilwoman Hudson, but I just, I'm granted that the attorney thinks that it would behoove the council to move forward in that direction, because we're not specifically singling out any one applicant at this point. We're just going with the matrix we've been given, and it sounds like we can specify moving forward that we be given a little more information, as well as having a very intensive background check done on those top 3 or 5, or however we choose to go. Is that a wise step forward?
Madam Attorney, Sarah?
It is certainly a strong business justification, which you absolutely have the power to do.
So I'm interpreting that as a thumbs up.
Yes, thumbs up.
Okay.
Thank you.
So is there further discussion, or are we ready to come out of executive session and maybe direct the manager? Councilmember Alcantara?
I think we're ready to come out and
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Mayor,
Oh, yes, Councilmember Graver.
do we need further discussion on whether or how many of the applicants we are going with.
Good question. And Deputy Mayor Tudor, you want to chime in at all here?
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to go that route, I would probably say, I feel comfortable going with, the top 4 or 5 on the matrix that the HR company provided. I think that I generally agree with your story system. I can't validate, some of the stuff like work history, for example, but just kind of taking a look at their application and response to the questions, it seems to line up pretty well. So I would feel comfortable doing even top 3, but I would say maybe to be safe, just do the top 4 and kind of split down the middle.
Okay, Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I don't have a problem with having any more discussion, but if we start talking about limiting the numbers of what we are, we have to get out of the committee of the whole before we can any kind of make that decision at all.
Right. So, are we ready to come out of the committee of the whole? Seems like. Okay. We'll come out of committee of the whole, and what's the wishes of the council? Councilmember Alcantara.
Yeah, I would move that we task the city manager to contact S3 and ask them to do the due diligence background checks and other reports on candidates Zirkle, Mazoris, Miller, Stennett, and Pepper. And also ask S3 what time they would be available for the maybe the end of next week. I don't know if I want that to be part of the motion or not, but I'll just make that motion for those, review those top 5 candidates.
Okay, and that was seconded by Councilmember Cooper? Yes. Mr. Manager.
There's a little bit that's gonna go into this. I would recommend adding another, I don't think next week is gonna be enough time to be able to do this. 'Cause we're also, if we're doing the background checks and whatnot, we're also checking references, and we need to give time for references to be able to be checked as well. If that, I'm assuming that reference checks are part of the background check that you wanna do? Is that a valid assumption? Okay. I think I'm gonna need another week, sir.
But we can kind of have the expectation that maybe you can give us a possible timeline, maybe as early as next week. A timeline, not necessarily answers.
I can give you a timeline, most likely at the next regular council meeting a week from tomorrow, if that works for council.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion or amendments?
No, I guess on discussion.
Okay, Councilmember Alcantara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I appreciate that, Mr. Diamante, the process can take a little bit of time to make, especially with background checks and other things for those 5 people. I mean, I like the fact that we're winnowing the field for the HR firm so they can drop off the bottom 7, so to speak. In my own mind, I'm just trying to wrestle with, I heard you say loud and clear the 14th, a packed agenda, and that we wouldn't, that it's not enough time anyway, that's 8 days from now. So then I'd ask you through the mayor, I guess, are we talking then about putting this on our January 28th agenda, or we can't get that far yet until you get back with us down the road?
Mr. Manager?
Looking ahead to the agenda on the 28th, that's gonna be a rather full meeting as well.
Thank you, okay.
So this is gonna be something that I would recommend doing in a special meeting.
Okay. Any more discussion? All right.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If we just stipulated would let's just say 2 weeks of a special meeting and just pencil out a time that's 2 weeks from now, would that be enough time for the city manager and the HR company?
Mr. Manager?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm gonna need to check with our HR firm and then get back to you next Tuesday. I think that's the best course of action, and then allow you next Tuesday to be able to schedule a meeting.
Tuesday the 14th.
Okay, that's fair.
Correct.
Okay, sorry, was there anything else, Deputy Mayor?
No, Mr. Mayor, that was a good answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
I started to cut you off. I didn't mean to do that. All right. So we're ready to vote? We have the, okay, Matt,
Mr. Mayor,
oh, yes,
if we could, I'd like to repeat this back to you,
Sure.
just to make sure that we're all on the same track here.
go ahead, sir.
So we're looking at taking the top 5 candidates from the matrix and doing essentially a background check on them. Our special instructions are gonna be to verify what's in the what they've put in their applications. We're gonna do a background check. We're going to check references, and then we're also going to ask them to join us at the next special meeting to be scheduled next Tuesday. Is that?
Councilmember Alcantra?
And I would add that we also expect, if possible, less redacted applications from those final 5. At least that's the one piece I didn't hear you say, so.
And a
That I
less
would say.
redacted, yes, sir, less redacted applications from
Yeah.
those 5.
For the final 5.
Okay. Councilmember Best?
And just for the record, that's by they be here at the next meeting, that is the firm, not the applicants.
Right, the S3.
That's
Mr. Mayor.
correct. That's 3 to be on Teams or Zoom with us on the next meeting, at the next special meeting that we schedule next Tuesday.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, amendments, clarifications? All right, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra,
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Graver,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Yeah.
Unanimous.
Okay. All right. Next, we have council member comments. Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. I hope everybody had a good holiday, and sorry for the weather. I wish we could control that. But January is National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month. Over 25 million people worldwide have been victims of human trafficking. And this Thursday, January 11th, is actually called Wear Blue Day. It's to help foster greater awareness of human trafficking, and just a suggestion or a request that people wear blue on Thursday for that. Thank you.
Councilmember Hudson.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. I had some questions from my constituents this week, so I just wanted to go ahead and address that at the dais so everybody could have a clear answer at one time. It has come to my attention that another council member at this dais has put into question a report that has been made with the police. So I would like to read the report number for my constituents so they can FOIA request that if they prefer. It is PA 24003372, and you can also contact our chief and ask him, and he would also confirm that. Thank you so much.
Okay. Councilmember Best.
Happy New Year to everybody. Be safe when you go home tonight. It's black ice out there. It's going to get worse. Tomorrow is going to be an interesting day for school, so hopefully the public works out there spread as much sand as they can.
Councilmember Graver.
I have no comments this evening, thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Alcantra.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think those that came out tonight, I know it's kind of these special meetings on Mondays kind of throw some people for a loop. I really appreciate the work that our city manager, Diamante, has been doing. I think this beginning of this process already has me feeling better than our past process did. So, I mean, I do think we want to avoid any pitfalls, and I think the way this is progressing with the direction tonight, it just has a better feel for it so far. I hope everybody did have a good holiday season. I know I did. I had 3 of my 4 kids home for the holidays, so it's not bad when one of them's in the Middle East. So I figure that's a good thing. And I had my 10-month-old granddaughter over for Christmas as well, so that's always a great thing. So I hope everybody else had just as good of a Christmas as I did. And yeah, 2025 is here. It's going to be an exciting year. I think we have certainly a lot to get done as a city, but this piece of getting somebody to be with us, hopefully for the next 3 years plus, and looking into the future to help guide us through, I think is going to be a big part of that. So really appreciate the work the interim manager's been doing, and I really can't state that loudly enough. And I appreciate all of you being here tonight. And to echo what Councilmember Best said, it is slippery and nasty out there. So please be safe. Watch your steps. Wear your spikes if you have them, and if you don't have them, go out and get some. I think. Thanks so much. Bye.
And let's not forget Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say, I neglected to say thank you, Mr. Mayor, for inviting me to ring the bell for Salvation Army over the Christmas season. We raised a lot of money for that great cause, and thank you for that. And also, it was just a real privilege to be able to help out with Colony Christmas Parade. I did not mention that as well the last meeting. It was a beautiful event, and just probably the best fireworks I can remember. It was just great. Sorry about the weather up there. It's kind of similar down here. I'm in Washington, D.C., helping out with Mat-Su miners at the convention. And it's so neat being here, seeing so many people just come up and talk to us about their experiences in Palmer. It's just great. I had the opportunity to sit down with a nice couple before I left that was looking to move to Palmer. So they asked me to sit with them and talking about our community, and it's such an honor to be able to represent Palmer. And every time I leave Alaska, I'm reminded of what makes our shared home so great. And this is going to be the highlight of my life, being able to represent Palmer. And I just hope that we never take it for granted, and that we always work to better the city, and both within and outside these council chambers. Thank you.
And I was just going to mention that I learned that Sandra Garley had passed away a little over a week ago, and she's worked for many years at the borough, and then she retired from the city as the director of community development. And for any of those that knew her, we've got a card over there by the deputy clerk's area. And we're adjourned.
I'd like to say bye.